Well, a very good day to you all. Hello, fellow YouTubers and VATSimmers. Thank you for tuning in once more again. This is a follow-up tutorial for my cold and dark from a 737-800 and focusing on the cold and dark setup. This tutorial is going to be focusing on specifically the walk around, because as you know I've been breaking this tutorial in sections. As you can see, there's a 737 Qantas on my left hand side. We are parked here at the gate, Echo, good old famous Echo 6 on the ground at Melbourne, using the famous Sorbic scenery. We're in a cold and dark setup, but we have powered the electrics, and you can check out my previous video on how that has been done. So ideally the walk around would be conducted by the first officer. However, the pilot at his discretion can also request that. It is a lovely day, and the pilot is getting ready for his the captain is getting ready for programming the flight management computer, or the FMC as I will call it from now. So we'll get the first officer out to do his walk around. So what we're looking at, I mean, this video is, from my understanding, from what I've read, and please commenters, subscribers, that's how I learn and read. From what I've understood, I'm gonna put together a few things highlighting in this video what the first officer look for when he's doing the walk around. This is my understanding. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but fellow flight simmers, you can make this as real or as unrealistic as you like. So having some connections in real flight, real world ex-pilots, this is information I've gathered. Now again, this is airline specific. Other airlines say you got to do this, you got to do that, but I've gathered, I mean, I've had some various contacts with different airliners, ex-pilots from different airliners, and they all seem to have their variations of it. So I've put together this little short tutorial which makes it generic. You can make your own. This is the beauty of it. But this is the fundamentals, and this is what you need to do. The absolute fundamentals from walk around. As I said, there may be a variation of this. So what we need to do, so in the previous tutorial, you know, we've turned on the battery, we've connected our the ground power, which is, we know it's on. We can see, because the ground power, we can see it's 115 volts. We've pressurized hydraulics with permission with the ground. Now we haven't set our fuel or payload as yet. We've confirmed the clock is set correctly, and we set our lighting as desired. Now the first officer is not with us. He's out doing the walk around. So what I'm going to try to do, as taking position from I guess the captain perspective, but I do need to stress that the captain can also do the walk around if he insists. So for the purpose of today's tutorial, the first officer will be doing the walk around, and this is what I plan to do. So whilst he's doing the walk around, the captain will be doing his own thing, and I'm going to be covering that in another video because it's just too much. This is, as I said from the very beginning, this is a massive, complicated, extremely intelligent aircraft. I can't cover this in a 30-minute or 10-minute, 20-minute video. I want to break it down into sections because I really want you to fly properly and know the aircraft well before you even consider joining or connecting to the VATSIM network or any other virtual network. You have to know your aircraft, otherwise please just don't connect. It's just not worth your while, I'm telling you that. Okay, so the very first thing, what the captain would do at this stage, passengers are not, we're electrically powered up to an extent. There's a lot more to do. Definitely there's a lot more to do. As you can see, you've got a few fuel alerts, electrical alerts. We don't even have our IRSs aligned, which we'll need to do. What your captain will do, or the pilot monitoring will be doing this. what we'll need to do is, if the first officer in this case will be going for the walk around, we want to make sure there's no obstacles on the ground. There's no anything obstructing the aircraft. So what we need to do is to open, at this stage basically, what I said, passengers are not boarding, but they're about to be boarded. They're anxiously waiting, when can we board? So as pilots, we have to be in constant communication with the ground crew. So what we'll need to do, we'll need to open our doors for our cargo doors. In this case, I'll open the cargo forward door and the rear door. Also just make sure it just operate the jetways with Virgin. Okay, so our doors are open. So the first thing to do is, now again, this is airline specific. I was taught right, left. So right as in right from the first officer's side, and do the walk around. So this is what I'm looking for. Okay, so let's assume we're a first officer, we're on the ground, and we are doing the walk around, and the captain is doing his own thing, programming, FMC and all that, which we'll cover that in a later video. So we are the first officer, let's assume. So the first thing we need to do is start our walk around. The first thing we need to do is make sure obviously ground is connected. We can visually see the ground power unit. I'd like ideally, well, this red line here indicates that I was informed that you shouldn't be over that red line because it can cause a suction or a how can I say, a danger point. So you want to be before that that red line on the wheel. You don't want to go in front of it in case something happens or the airplane rolls away, in case it's not on the wheel chocks. But as you can see, wheel chocks are in, so there's nothing to stop us to doing that. But that is just a general guide. We need to look at hydraulics. For example, let's see the wheel well here. Yeah, not sure what happened there, but the pilot doing his walk around will check all the cables and no loose objects and no leaks or as such in the front gear. The tyres okay, all the cables okay, nothing is conflicting or making a dangerous departure. The next thing we need to check the pitot tubes are disconnected, which they are. We can see they're clear. Now remember from our previous video, we did request ground to clear that, and fortunately they have, which is excellent. And we just continue on our walk around. We can see the electrical power cable is connected to the ground power, and we are connected to the ground power. So we just walk around, continue our approach, and focus on the forward cargo. Make sure again this door is clear of any obstructions. Nothing is holding it from closing it. There's no physical boundaries that will stop it. It's clear. The captain has been ever so kind to open that for us so we can check. Now at this stage, it depends on the aircraft or the airliner. You may find that during this phase, whilst we're doing a walk around, depending if it's a turnaround flight, it's a very short flight, let's say Sydney to Melbourne and back again, Melbourne to Sydney, you only got 20 minutes to turn around. Aircraft will have its doors open, and at the same time luggage will come out, and you wouldn't be surprised to see ground crew at Melbourne already with the next luggage waiting to be boarding. So that's another thing we need to check. Make sure it's all clear and ready for the next arrival. I can see some aircraft in the background departing. Hear some noise, so but we're good. And we next continue. We look at the looking at my checklist here. The engines. Now, what the first officer would do, or the pilot doing the walk around, he would look at the engine fan, which is a classic CFM 537-8 jet rotation engines. They're absolutely phenomenal, these engines. They do a crazy amount of work and can get to extreme levels of thrusts, and you don't want to be near them when they're on. But anyway, what we need to do is, well, I can't simulate this, but in the real world, the first officer or the pilot monitoring would be doing the walk around, and he'll be using his physical hand to try to move the propellers, the fan blades, I should say, to see if they can spin freely. And there's nothing obstructing, no birds or anything like that, nothing in the way. Basically, we don't want that, because that will be a bad day. You don't. So make sure it's free. Normally, during the wind and everything, this will be rotating extremely slowly, and the first officer or the pilot doing the walk around would double check that physically. Make sure, so we then go back, now I can't obviously demonstrate because I can't touch the propellers, but that's what you normally do. And the pilot doing the walk around, he would, oh, this is another thing. See this red line? It's not specific to Virgin. It is a generic thing. So basically, if for argument's sake, the engines are on, especially when ground crew are taxiing the aircraft and pushing back the aircraft, we don't want to be in front of, we don't want to be here. We do not want to be in front of that red line. We want to be behind that red line. As you can see, that no standing zone. I don't want to say why, but you probably guess. When the engines are on, there is a very high % chance you get sucked in here, and that is not that's a bad day. You don't want to be there. So hence why we want to be behind that red line. That's our safety margin. So what we want to do, the next thing is we want to check our turbine fans, make sure they're clear. So we look here, there's no obvious obstructions or anything like that. It's clear. There's nothing from what I can see, as I can see here, it's all clear. We're very good. So this is the right engine number 1, as they say. As you can see, the lights are on here. So this is one of the main reasons that we turn on the wheel lights and the wing lights on. We just want to make sure everything works correctly. Okay, so the next thing is winglets. So we double check that the flaps, winglets and the slats and leading edges are clear, no obstructions. We can see our lights are green in front, which should be, and white in the rear. It's all looking very, very nice and clean. Again, the flaps are in and there's nothing obstructing the flaps. Quick double check. Everything looks very, very clean. These I'm going to talk about into details once we do the main landing gear. Again, we check the rear or the aft cargo hold. Again, looking at the doors, make sure there's nothing obstructed when closing the doors. we need to make sure it's all clear. And at this stage, during the inspection, the pilot doing the walk around can expect baggage ground crew loading the aircraft. So you can expect a lot of a lot of traffic in the area with the luggage crew. Ideally, you don't want, from what I understand, it shouldn't take more than 15 to 20 minutes for the walk around. But on a short turnaround flight, it could be even less than that. Okay, so just progressing along the aircraft to make sure we're looking at the APU tail. Make sure that is open, clear, and nothing being obstructed. You can see the APU at the moment is off, but there's nothing obstructed, clear, blocking it or anything like that. So the next thing to do, we look at the main landing gear. This is the main landing gear. What we're looking for is obviously the hydraulics and fluid leaks or anything like that we can see if there's any leaks. As such, I mean, I'm not sure of how it's modeled, but usually if you go right up here, and I don't know if you can see, but in the real life you see a whole heap of cables here. All these cables need to be properly, well, basically there's no leaks and everything properly connected. So I'm not sure, I can't really see it from this point of angle, but I know on the on the 777 and the 74 it's very detailed. It's a little bit less detailed from the PMDG on this aircraft. Having said that, the wheel well here, you'll see a whole heap of cables. There it is there. See, it's probably not. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's not simulated well. But a lot of cables here. Make sure nothing is being obstructed. It's clear. Once we've checked that, because obviously there's about 2,700 pounds of takeoff thrust that this aircraft requires, we do the same thing on the left hand side. We look at the turbine engine, make sure that is clear, nothing obstructing it. Secondly, we look at the flaps, the winglets, everything is clear. We have the white, we have the red in front. Then we look at the slats in front. Make sure that's not being obstructed. And it's very, very similar. Same with what we've done with the other previous engine. This is an engine number 2 on the left. Make sure that there's nothing being obstructed here, no leaks, and we would obviously physically turn the blades this way to make sure it rolls and nothing is obstructed, no birds or anything like that. So I can't simulate this obviously, but that's what you would do on a walk around. Again, nothing, obviously the lights are on here, you can see the lights. Similarly here, there's no leaks or fluids, and pretty much basically that covers the walk around. And if we're happy and satisfied with that, confirm the pitot covers are off here and are off here, because we want to get them removed. Again, this is only for the first flight out, and I'll be covering the transit flight check in another tutorial. So far everything looks good. I'm very happy. I'm going to join the captain in the flight deck so we can resume our electrical power up part 2, which will focus on the starting the APU, programming the FMC or the flight management computer, and getting our fuel in, all those exciting things. So hopefully you can join me that. Meanwhile, thank you, and hope to see you on the next video tutorial.